So in today's session, I want to talk a bit about the educational system in the US. And my question to you, the first one would be if you could give us a brief overview of the educational system in the US.
So the education system in the US, it's similar to, I think, Germany as well. It starts at kindergarten and goes through the 12th grade. The primary education system is from kindergarten through the about 5th grade, and the secondary education system generally starts at the 6th grade and goes through the 12th grade. In the U.S., between kindergarten and 5th grade, we call this elementary school. Mm-hmm. And then starting generally in the 6th or 7th grade, it depends on the area where you live, okay. But it generally 6th or 7th grade starts the middle school or the junior high school education, and then generally starting in about the 9th grade starts high school. High school goes through the 9th grade through the 12th grade.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, in Germany, basically you start in kindergarten as well, and then at the age of 6, you usually go to elementary school for 4 years. And then, excuse me, you make the decision to, I think you're aware that we have this, 4-tiered structure of schools after elementary school. So we have, or primary school. So we have like the, Hauptschule, which goes until grade 9. And then we have the Realschule that goes till grade 10. And then we have the Gymnasium, which, used to be 13, then they changed it to 12 years of school, and now it's 13 again. Basically, 8 years of gymnasium or 9 years of gymnasium, and then we have a couple of other school types as well. And in some states in Germany, we also have comprehensive schools. I think this is something that maybe some who listen to the podcast don't really know is that, or they don't know how the secondary school system is structured. Because, like I said, we have this multi-tiered system in Germany. How is that organized in the US?
Well, so I think the first thing to understand is the size of the United States, right? Currently there's more or less about 330 million people who live in the United States. And so our education system is a huge system. Mm-hmm. And so we have to have these different tiers of systems in order to accommodate the numbers of students that study. And so once you get to the 9th grade, that's when you enter into the high school phase of your education. And the high school phase is more geared towards preparing you to go into university or life after you graduate in the 12th grade. And in general, it's structured, I think, pretty much the same, no matter where you live in the United States. Okay.
So it doesn't matter in which state you live, it is roughly the same. Okay.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So because I'm just curious, because in Germany, like the moment you enter the secondary school system, you, like I said, apart from if you go to a comprehensive school, where basically every kind of, every student can go to, we have like a division based on the grades of a student or the strength in subjects, I would say the academic strength of a student. So if you're, a very good student in elementary school, you can go to the gymnasium, and, this is generally like, also what happens. And then if your grades are not that good, you still have the option to go to Realschule. And if you're really bad, you go to Hauptschule. And is this something, and then, so basically at the age of 10, it's kind of the decision is made about your, even distant future. And if you don't go to gymnasium, you still can go theoretically and also practically to a university, but it's much more difficult, this route, than if you go straight to a gymnasium. So what I'm saying is basically at the age of 10, the decision is made if you can go to university once you're 18, 19, when you're finished with school or not. Is this something that is similar in the US, or is that different?
The short answer is no. I think the U.S. system is much more flexible in regards to that. Now, once you get to high school, once you enter into the 9th grade, in high school, you have the opportunity to take advanced classes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're called advanced placement classes, or short AP classes. We also have college prep classes, and then just regular classes. So for students who are more advanced in their studies, they can opt into taking AP classes, these advanced placement mm-hmm. classes. And these advanced placement classes can offer the student an opportunity to start earning credits for their university degree, for whatever university they're going to enter. So they basically can earn credits while in high school for university. Most students in high school generally take college prep classes mm-hmm. Because those are classes that are designed to prepare students to enter into university. But we don't have a system where at a certain age you have to decide what route you're going. Because remember, the U.S. system is kind of like a one-stop shop system where all students are entered into the system, and we all follow generally the same path, the same direction. It's just that once you get to high school, that's when you have the opportunity to take different classes that can give you credits for university and prepare you for university.
So basically, are you saying that theoretically, let's assume that, a student has after primary school wasn't a good student, and maybe also in year 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, they weren't very good. And then in year 10, they suddenly, for whatever reason, are performing very well academically, which, or they would have, from my understanding, it is kind of fairer, because in Germany, if you're not performing well at the age of 10, your life is not really decided for you, but it's, it will become much harder to advance on the educational level higher up if you don't have, the Abitur, for example, or if you don't go to the gymnasium. So in the US, it's basically, how is this decided? So does it matter how well you perform in high school in order to get to university? Because like I said, in Germany, it's basically, it's already decided, based on the grades more or less from primary school, if you can go to either the Hauptschule, Realschule, Gymnasium, and then, in the gymnasium as well, it's the same, because, if you're not good enough in the lessons, you have to repeat a year, and if you repeat a year more than once, I think, or you cannot repeat a year more than once, and that you basically have to leave to the next lower school type. And the problem with that is, I think, is that if you are improving your academic skills very late in your school career, that in Germany it will be very difficult for you to, get university entrance, or to pass or to have a qualification that allows you to enter university. And how is that different in the US then? Do your school grades decide if you have access to university, or how does that work?
Yes, it's a part of the process, or it's a part of the information that's considered by the university. So whenever a student is ready to go to university, they have to apply to a university. Mm-hmm. And as a part of the application process, your grades, or what we call your grade point average, your GPA, is generally considered in that whole process on whether or not the university will accept you. Okay. But it's more than that as well. it is grades. Generally, you have to take a college entrance exam.
Is that where this SAT comes into play?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is that the exam you're talking about?
Yes. So when I was in high school, I don't know if it's changed so far, but when I was in high school, there were two. There was the SAT and the ACT. Okay. These were two different college standardized entrance exams. Okay. And you had to score, or each university required a certain score, minimum score, to be considered for a place in the university. So you had to prepare for this exam and take this exam. And it is one of the pieces of information that the university uses to determine your eligibility. So it's your grades, your scores on this exam, as well as extracurricular activities that you do, volunteering in your community, playing sports, playing an instrument, whatever it may be. All of these things are considered as well, because universities in general, they want a well-rounded student, right? They want a student that's academically gifted, but they also want a student who's civically engaged and going to be an overall asset to the university community.
I mean, this is interesting because I think that's a big difference to the German system, at least when I studied at university, or when I last checked how the university access happens in Germany, because it's basically, well, first of all, you need to go to the gymnasium to get like the Abitur, and once you have the Abitur, then it's basically your grades decide if you can access certain, courses of studies as well. And I know that when I finished in Germany in 2008, they were in the process of, also interviewing candidates. So a certain percentage of candidates got in with their grades, and the other one got in a combination with grades and an interview. I don't really know. I think each university could interview a student to, I don't know if there were set guidelines or something, but I think in Germany, in the system at least, the system cares much less what you do extracurricularly, or if you play an instrument or something. And I think that's a big difference. Maybe in the later session when we talk about the university system, and maybe we can pick this up as well, or maybe even later on when we talk a little more about the secondary school system. But that seems to me an interesting aspect that, in Germany, it's all about your grades, and, this personal aspect, the human side of yourself is kind of not really relevant. So.
Yeah, even in high school. So these aspects are integrated into, in general, they're integrated into your high school education. When I was in high school, I had to complete a certain number of community service hours. So I had to go volunteer with an organization and volunteer for a certain number of hours, or multiple organizations to accumulate a certain number of hours in order to graduate. That was one of the requirements. And in general, extracurricular activities are a significant part of the education system. There are sports that students can participate in: basketball, football, baseball, many different sports. There's band or chorus or orchestra where people can play instruments or sing. There are, various, different clubs that students can participate in. In order for them to build the civic engagement side of, their education.
So how is this organized? Because, for example, I'm thinking in terms of how this looks in practice, because in Germany, right, we have, a primary school is you have subjects, or the subjects that you have are German, of course. Then you have math to a huge number of, or the majority is German, math, and then you have a subject which is kind of a mix of geography, maybe chemistry, biology or something. Then you have music, a couple of, lessons, I think, arts as well, and PE as well. And then in year 3 and year 4, at least in Bavaria, there is English. But in secondary school, we have, I don't know how, this works in the US, but we have like subjects, like German, math, again, physics, chemistry, biology. Then we have like music, arts, we have second languages and stuff. But how does the secondary school system in the US then make the space for these kind of extracurricular course, or like, band, or the things you mentioned, or sports or something? Is this something that the student then has to do in their free time, or how does that work?
So I think the US system is similar to Germany in this regard, and as far as the subjects that students are required to study. But we also have what we call elective courses. And elective courses are courses that the students can choose to take during the school year, such as band, or I'm trying to think of the name of it, but now I can't think of the name of it. But they're different courses students can take that are up to their choosing. It's not like
But are the students doing this voluntarily, or do they need to do this, or is it something that the students want to do? Is that, how is that?
Yeah. So the elective courses they have to take, and again, it's up to their choosing. Now, there are extracurricular activities that are not integrated within the school day. So if you play a sport, for example, those happen after school hours. If you, there's some that are kind of, quasi, they happen during the school day, and then they also happen after school as well. Band, for example, like if you play in the band or you play in the orchestra, many times you take a course during your school day where you practice, playing your instrument. But after school, generally the band plays at sporting events, particularly the football game. So there's a portion of the football game where the band will go out on the field and they will play. And so that happens after school, of course.
So that's interesting. So that it sounds to me like there's a lot of time commitment that the student in the US has to make in secondary school to do all these things, right? Is that correct?
In general, yes. Yes.
And what's kind of the attitude for students? Because I was a student in Germany, obviously, and I was teaching at secondary school for 5 years, as a teacher at the gymnasium. And I would say the students are very reluctant to do anything that doesn't serve the purpose of, getting them better grades, or advancing them in their school career. But it sounds to me like in the US that, I'm wondering what the attitude of students is there. Is it something that they're like, oh my goodness, I need to do that? Is it required of me? Or are they actually like, enjoying this, looking forward to this, or do they see this as a burden or something?
Well, what I would say in general is, it is integrated within our culture. So it is a lot, and you will hear students who complain that maybe it's too much, but it's the expectation. The expectation is that you are engaged in extracurricular activities, even though it is a time commitment. For example, I played sports in high school, and so after I finished my school day, which was maybe around 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the afternoon, then I had to go practice, and practice lasted until maybe 5 o'clock or 5:30 in the afternoon. And then I had to go home, and then I had to study, right? I had to do my homework. I had to prepare for my classes the next day. And that lasted until, 6, 7, sometimes maybe 8 o'clock at night, depending on what I had to do. So it's a full day commitment, and it is a full-time commitment. But we do it because we want to go to university, right? And we know how important these activities are to getting accepted into the university that we want to go to. And so, yes, we do complain about it, but we do also enjoy it as well. I mean, it is, many times the extracurricular activities that we do are things that we're interested in, right? We like to play sports, or we like to, whatever club that we're participating in. It can be the math club or the science club or the surfing club or whatever. I mean, those are activities that generally you enjoy doing anyway. So you don't necessarily see it, as, a time commitment or as a burden, on your life. But at the same time, you do understand you have to study as well, right? You have to be able to manage your time. But I think this is an activity in preparation for university, because once you get to university, you still have all these things going on, but you don't have the structure of a family and parents at home, and really teachers that are, helping you to stay on track. Once you get to university, you are on your own, right, to manage all of this. So I think high school is kind of a preparation for that next transition into the tertiary education system.
Yeah, maybe this is something that we could talk about in the next session. Maybe go a little bit deeper into the university system and also how it connects to the secondary school system.